If you thought that after the run-up to Super Bagnères and with a rest day ahead of us, that stage 15 to Carcassonne would be a quiet affair, then think again. This was yet another brutal day on the Tour de France. One of the most exciting editions was about to get white hot. Temperatures hovering around 26 Celsius, but with a tailwind as well for much of the day. This was going to be quick. But would it be the quick men, the classics men, the GC men? The eternal question hanging over us. The answer would come after 169 kilometres of racing. Destination Carcassonne. Quite a benign look to the profile of the day, it has to be said. Intermediate sprint coming after 60 kilometres, and then the climbing began. A series of rolling hills. Finished off with the Balisson, only categorised or classed as 3 kilometres in length, but really peaky. And then at the top, a 35 kilometre run down towards the plain that would bring us to Carcassonne. We have been here before, but every time we run in this part of the world, the days are always different. There we are, waved away by Monsieur Prudhomme, and real estate was at a premium. And I'm afraid street furniture got in the way, and Alaphilippe was on the deck. He wasn't alone. Likewise out there, leader of the young riders classification had to be rescued, and panic was ensuing out there. Lipovitz was being relayed back in. The breakaway finally forming itself into a fighting force of 15. Panic amongst the main players, but Tadej Pogačar was not interested in taking advantage, and the gentleman that he is, returning the favour to Jonas Vingegaard, who was trying to get himself back in.
What is happening, there's no problem. Today is actually Pogačar fair play. He's trying to calm down everyone to let us come back to the punch.
Calm down was the phrase of the day. Not for those in the break. Wellens, Campenaerts, Van Aert, Inkhorn, Groves, Van der Poel, Mohoric. It was a long list. 15 riders had got themselves up front, but the peloton itself regathered and then split again. The tailwind and the crosswind, as the road twisted and turned, was causing havoc. And for those who got riders up front, they didn't want the motorcycles getting too close. Van der Poel wanted maximum points from the intermediate sprint. He was allowed to take those, said his thank you to Arnaud Delis, who was also up front at that moment. And then others started to bridge because we were starting to climb. Well, Quinn Simmons drew out a response as well, joined by Michael Storer and a few others as well. In fact, there was a breakdown, then a regathering of that front group, and finally we had a pecking order of some fine riders up front. Lutsenko was there, likewise Storer, Simmons, Mohoric, Paulus, Campenaerts and Tim Wellens. No panic for Jonas Vingegaard after a brief technical. It showed you the calm that had washed over the GC men. Others, like Carlos Rodriguez, wanting to emanate what Tiemann Arensman, his teammate from Ineos Grenadiers, had done the day prior. They were on the radio, UE Team Emirates. This day was going to be yet another for the breakaway. The 6th of this year's race. But the breakaway was so big, it almost felt like a race in itself. They were gunning for it. Wellens, Campenaerts, Simmons and Storer, they were to be joined by others, and just as they were tailing on, the man who looked to be struggling at the back of this group, Tim Wellens, or indeed was he just preserving his resources? They went through the Balisson, then up onto the plateau. Others had come over for the fun of it, Warren Barguil joining the party, and then this. Wellens lit it up, went over the top, knowing that he just had to push on these little peaklets to enjoy the 30-kilometre descent. And then potentially a run for home. Quinn Simmons knew the danger. Off he set. Campenaerts was also alert to it. Carlos Rodriguez struggling to get in. Would he make it? And would this man punish everybody? Well, it was just a handful of seconds at this point. But with the descent, of which he is a master, this was potentially going to be something, well, very dangerous for the breakaway and something magnificent potentially for Tim Wellens himself. GC men, well, they were all looking at each other and were going to ride this one in. No threat to the overall at all. but with a stage win up for grabs, Wellens at this point knew that potentially it was his. Well, the arguments, as far as the chase were concerned, were ensuing. Nobody could really decide how to do it. And Tim Wellens at this point then, knowing he had to go for it. Likewise, Campenaerts, he didn't want to miss out, taking his aero helmet up the road. Wellens coming home, wearing that spectacular Belgian national champion's jersey and celebrating his first ever win on the Tour de France, adding to 2 victories in the Giro and 2 on the Vuelta as well. A magnificent performance. A day he'll never forget, and neither will we. It was one heck of a battle. Campenaerts coming home for second place. He denied those who were around him. And then the race for the line. And the man who'd been on the deck earlier on today, Julian Alaphilippe, raising his arms. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
A truly remarkable day of racing on the Tour.
How is looking, Tim? He's looking fabulous or not? He's looking perfect in this Belgian champion jersey.
Good man. And he is a very good man. What an amazing day. We're kind of getting used to saying that here, aren't we? Fabulous. But Van Aert came home just behind Alaphilippe. Axel Aronson in the frame as well. Wellens, our hero.
I felt super good today. Before the stage, Niels and me were laughing a little bit that we would go on the break. Suddenly there was a big crash, so I hope everything is okay in the crash. That is said, we tried to block and we wait for the rest. But they kept on attacking, and then I followed one move and I was in the breakaway. And then on the climb it exploded again. And then on the last climb of the day, I felt really good. I saw the others also felt really good. But I knew I had to go solo, and at the top of the climb I found my moment, and I felt that I had the legs to keep it until the end.
And indeed, Tadej Pogačar himself just adding his congratulations. Wanted updates throughout the day. Pogačar still leads by a handsome margin as well. Going into the rest day, Pogačar with a 4 minutes and 13 advantage over Jonas Vingegaard. Good that Lipovic kept his position in the GC as well. And so after the rest day, what lies ahead? Well, I've got to tell you, it is a real hockey stick stage when we resume racing on Tuesday. It is, of course, the mighty Mont Ventoux, standing proud on the horizon. And we'll be picking our way right the way up past Châlais-Renard to the peak itself. What a delicious way to resume the feast. Look at it. Be very afraid. That's how we resume. Until then, we've got a rest day.